But that said, I'm going to bring this up quickly. And I am going to show you, I think, the one that I was actually considering using. See, I was strongly considering... Is there a dark theme for this website? Let me just look quickly. I would very much like a dark theme. I don't see any. Use dark theme where available. Save. Oh, Jesus God. Oh my God, that is so much better. Okay, I got it. I got it. That's better. That's better. So, for the first game that I want to make, I might actually use... You think these have been on Humble before? Yes, they have. And they have. And I might actually use something like this. But I think that I might take these and modify them a little bit. In other words, I'm not going to change the stuff, but I'm going to use like a... See, the first game we're going to do is going to probably be the slime game. Okay? Because I want to use the slime somewhere. And I want to also start with something that I think can be like... I want to say that something that's attainable. But also... You know, interesting enough to keep me engaged, and I can definitely make something interesting with this. I have like an artistic vision in mind. I have an idea for mechanics for gameplay and like a core gameplay loop, and I think it could be fun. The difficult part would obviously be balancing things and actually working out the nitty-gritty, but something like this could be cool. Something like this could be cool. Yo, Jay, what's up, man? Nice to see you again. Dude, I browsed the Unreal Marketplace because Artful said, hey, claim the free stuff there every month or every week or whatever. Yeah, listen, that shit just keeps on going and going and going and going. It never stops. So I'm considering going for this one, right? I'm considering going for this one. Didn't you say that, Edgy? Sorry. I took Edgy's advice. Dude. Listen, you guys who know all about the code and shit, your names are a blur right now. Anyway, thanks, man. You did say that. You are the one who said that. But I took your advice. I claimed the free ones. Artful, didn't you say that? Artful did say that. Thank you, Artful. I feel like we're talking in circles now. Shit. Okay. You guys must be the same person. I understand that. Edgy is just German Artful. And Artful's just, well, non-German Edgy. Alright. So this is cool. I'm considering using this, and I mean, I would buy the whole bundle, because again, these assets, they are fantastic. They're cool. They're usable for anything. I was also going to use this somewhere, but this was going to be used elsewhere. I have such a fantastic idea for a 1-bit game. I am... You would not believe how excited I am for that one. I need some weapon models, which I found here. So, basically... I can't even say what it is because it's such a great idea. It's such a great idea. But let's just say that the idea sort of revolves around very majorly around the weapons, and then I think that the tile sets that look sort of like this, very basic, they are easy to use because you get to also make your own assets for them, and I think that. Man, it's just going to be so much fun. Okay, so I'm just saying it's going to be so much fun. I've just been browsing the itch assets and I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. But again, I think when we start, I think it'll be the weekend. Then we're going to start on a slime game. Okay? And it's going to be similar to what Edgy was saying. But obviously I've got sort of, let's say, twists. I've got ideas planned. And it's going to be fun. How does one obtain such a clean desktop? You don't. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I have all my stuff on that monitor and on this monitor. There's no clean desktop. It's a mess. You just can't see it. Oh, the idea of I can't talk about my ideas or everyone else will steal them was just a projection. It was. Basically, I was just saying that so that everyone else would mention their good ideas so I could steal them. But it seems to have worked out. By the way, we need to switch the sprites back. I forgot. God damn. I'll see where we are. I can delete this. Let me just look at this quickly. That's an enemy. That's the wrong color. Edit image. Yeah, this is the wrong color. Import. It'll have to be player strip. There we go. Okay. Yo, Accordion, what's up? Did I set up any kind of backup system? Dare you say version control system? What does that mean? Hello? Now you spitting nonsense out there. I have no idea what that even means, man. Hello? Oh, no. Oh, no. What are you saying? You better explain yourself. Git Kraken. GameMaker has some sort of VCS integrated. Like a backup system for my code. Okay. Shit. Because code can't possibly take a lot of space, right? Yeah, assets can take some space, but code, tools, no. Ash, get good. Thanks. It's a backup site like GitHub where you can restore old versions of your code. Ah. So you can save like a 1.0 or 2.0. Can't I just save multiple copies of it? Why am I in Workspace 2? Can I rename this to Workspace 1? Thank you. You can, but that's clunky. I don't know what the best way of doing it is, personally. I honestly... Shit, man. I couldn't tell you. Hold on, this camera is looking... Hold on, let me just fix the webcam. I'm going back to the chat screen for a second. I need to go back to the chat screen. Okay, there we go. I had to just re-embed the... That's better. Okay. So it's less about specific large versions, but also keeping modular history of your project available so you can cherry pick and revert changes and reasonably track them. That sounds like something for future Lumin to worry about. But I'm gonna basically have to just look for something that can integrate with GameMaker. How to set up source control with GameMaker Studio. Oh shit, dude. Plugins, source control. Okay. Okay. Yeah, for now it's fine when my projects are tiny, but when I get to big sprawling projects, Future Lumin is going to hate past Lumin. Nah, Future Lumin always just envies past Lumin. That's what it comes down to. Tracks, I'm saving that. Thank you. There we go. That's what it comes down to. Envies past Lumin. Alright, so we're going to get started with Sean Spalding in a second here. I basically... just wanted to say, yeah, we're going to work on some stuff this weekend. We'll start on a new project that'll be for fun. For fun. Is it going to work out? Who the shit knows? We're going to have to give it a try and fumble our way through it. We're going to have to be doing a lot of Googling, and it's going to be cool. I think, again, like I was saying, we are going to start with something with a slime. And I also think it could work out, but it might be better starting something simpler. So I don't know. I have a lot of ideas. So I'm trying to just sort of cherry pick a decent one to I don't know, start on. Oh, and I was asking in Discord about code in, let's just say, like, code in language text that could be used for things like, not so much for a t-shirt specifically, but for, like, my intro reel and for promotional imagery. But maybe for t-shirts too. And I had some people in Discord, it was mostly Traxar, Artful, and Ash looking at it. And they came up with some interesting ideas. But I actually wanted more input. So I wanted people to look at this and tell me. Because let me make a new object and I can show you. So, create object. This is obviously not going to work, okay, but it's fine. So, I wanted... Oh my god, it's so cool with the color. That is actually so cool with the color. Oh my god. I love it, dude. I love it. I wanted to see about making the cozy coding thing into something pretty. But then I was also looking at the cute little slime picture. And I was thinking, I want something... because, like, you know, when you have a t-shirt, this is now for if you have a t-shirt, you need something on the front and the back. And generally, you don't want the same thing on the front and the back, because that's boring. And generally, you also don't want, let's say, too much random shit, too much random text. You want something straightforward, something simple, and something cool. Something that doesn't make you stand out in a bad way, but something that could get a chuckle from someone who understands it in a good way. And I thought that, hey, the slime sprite is kind of fun. And I was thinking if I had to make a t-shirt, I could do something silly like, let's say, ooze plus goo equals slime, you know? But obviously you'd type this in a way like this. And where it's like a coding language thing, and then you have this on the back or on the front below, like you have the sprite here and then you have this below it, the picture, and then I can just put a straight logo on the back or something. But that could be cute. I would buy that shirt in a heartbeat. I want a hoodie with that on. So I was thinking it would be cool if someone could basically weigh in on this and on these to let me know. Are these... I personally, I like this one the most, that Artful gave. I think that this is fantastic. But I think I'd make that small letters as well, right? Or you'd make that capital and that capital. Or so, anyway, that's unimportant. But I like this one the most. I think that's the not the cutest one, but it's most together. And then I wanted one for like the ooze and the slime stuff as well. I realized this is nothing to do with coding. It's just an idea that I had, and I thought, hey, it's cute and it could be fun. So if anyone has a way to type this sort of like that, or like that, or like that, this is much more simple. But you know, you can let me know how you would do it, if you would do it. Because again, my knowledge of code is only GML, and it's something that doesn't always carry over to other languages. So it would be better if I used a slightly more recognized language, or something that is in GML true, but also in a different language true, and just looks good, you know? So like the problem with this is that this is not really code at all. This is nothing. So because like you'd need to like set variables, or you'd need to something, you know, you need something. This looks like pseudocode, which is recognizable anyway. That's why I like this. So Artful's one here, I feel like the most important part of the one that Artful recommended is the fact that it's understandable by someone who has zero coding knowledge, but it also makes sense to someone because of the curly brackets, because of the regular brackets, because of the while statement, because of the, you know, the instance that you set in here. All of it just makes sense. And it doesn't have to be the most true statement. It just looks really cool. And if you put that on like a black shirt with the nice colors and everything, it'll look pretty. Or on a black background or whatever, it'll look pretty. And then I want something similar to that, but with goo and ooze equaling slime. So I don't know how you do that. Like, I could look at some of the other code here and see if there's something similar, but I don't think any of them really work. So let me know what you guys think. Take a mental snapshot of this, and we'll revisit it at some point. I don't want to delete the wrong one now. And until then, because I will bother you about this again in the future. Until then, we are continuing on our merry way. I think we're good to go on Sean Spalding's tutorial. I'm going to go back a minute.
So we're going to fix that. And last but not least, obviously,
how about this? Let's hear it.
our character doesn't animate at all. He doesn't do his running animation.
I must say, I just want to point this out. Taraxa was saying earlier, hey, he did the first episode. He said, you know, it feels so good. It feels so good when you just coded you got the little block jumping around the little block level. But I want to say, I completely agree with that, and I feel like the second you add the sprite, the second you add the player sprite, that good feeling is gone. It's out the window. It feels tacky as shit. But, I mean, it's part of the process. It's going to feel good once it's animated again, and it's going to start sort of making more sense soon. It's just, you know, that little square that jumps around, that felt good. Especially when it collides with stuff and it fits into those little gaps perfectly. Oh, you added a bunch of platforms. Yeah, he adds platforms later, I'm assuming.
Do his jumping or falling animation.
Edgy, that's a good idea, man. That's a good idea, and I think you're right. It gives me more time to think.
And so on. So those are the things we're going to fix. Let's start with just that issue with the walls, shall we? At the moment, all of our objects, our wall objects and our player objects, are all on the same layer. When objects are on the same layer, there's no guarantee about what order they'll be drawn in if they're drawn at the same time. If I put the player on top of it, there's no guarantee. It's worked out internally.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire...
It's fine. Give him his money.
And like, even if you get it kind of working
Give him
how
his
you want
money.
it to, say like, if just by chance our player happened to show up in front of all of these different objects, you don't want to rely on that, because a later version of GameMaker might change how it works internally. It's not something you can rely upon to always stay the same. What you can rely upon is if you put your objects on the proper layers in the right order, and use the correct depth, or however you're doing it. Then that will always work. Whereas if they're always on the same layer, or if they're on the same depth, it's not going to be guaranteed.
Cool.
So let's make just a new instances layer, just above.
Oh my god, I didn't know you could do that. Also, where's my menu? Oh god, it's fine. I know how to do this, guys. Don't worry. Layout. Reset layout. There we go. Okay.
In above our current instances layer. So let's change the name of this layer to player. We'll just have a layer specifically for the player in this room. Okay, and we'll change this one to walls. I'm just selecting this layer and pressing F2 if you're wondering how I'm just easily renaming that. And let's select our walls layer and delete the player from the walls layer and put it onto the player layer. And now you can see if we drag him over the top of the walls, he's appearing in front of them all.
Dude, as simple as that.
That's in front of the walls, or on top of the walls layer. Okay, so that will solve that problem. So if I were to run the game now, you'd see that as well. But you can see it in the room editor. We're crossing over the wall properly. So let's actually get into the code and start writing the stuff for our animation now, shall we? So
yes.
Let's go to our player object. Let's open the step event. I'm just going to press F12. In fact, I'm going to maximize this so we can see just 100% of our screen space is used for this code. I'll make the font a bit bigger.
Can
as
I
well. Just pressing
F12
F8
it?
there, by the way, in case you also wondered. F8 and F7 just dynamically increases and decreases the size of your font, so you can clearly see.
Huh.
all of your code however you want to.
Okay.
Now, we want to animate, and we want to change our sprite of our object, and change our animation speed, and change what frame we're showing, and so on, based on different things. Now, you might think that we just sort of wrap that into our code. So at the moment, we've got this area here that's like, oh, if
I'm gonna
we're on the
remove my
floor and we
code.
press jump, let's
I've got a
jump,
screenshot
right?
of it.
So maybe it would make sense that here we could put the change sprite to be our jumping animation thing.
Let me bring him up here, sorry.
It's not really how you want to do it. Or, I mean, you can do it that way, but it becomes hard to manage if you've got all your animation stuff just sort of
That's exactly what I was doing, by the way. And he's like, yeah, this is bad form.
wrapped in with all your code. It becomes hard to work out which animations are taking priority over which and what's happening in what order. So what I usually like to do, and you can do this however you want really, but what I like to do is keep all of that stuff separate. So I'll have a separate section just at the end.
Is that someone
Once I've
following
worked
him
out
or
all of
following
my
me?
movement and all of my positional stuff. Right at the
Ezra
end of
Game.
the step,
Thanks for following, man. Much obliged.
I have a section for animation. Okay.
At the bottom,
And
okay.
and that includes just changing our sprite, changing our frames, and doing anything to do with the graphics of the sprite. Okay. The reason I do that is just makes it easy to sort of maintain the logic of what I'm doing with the sprite, and easy for me to keep track of what's going on. So I'm just going to do it all down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is check to see if we're on the floor, because if we're not on the floor, that makes things very easy. If we're not on the floor, we're going to want to use our air sprite, our S player A sprite. And we're going to want to either use the up frame or the down frame, depending which direction.
I added that, right? Let me just make sure I got it. A. What is R? Run. Okay, yeah, I got them all here. I'm gonna... Oh, God. You know, I've got the slime sprite here for now. I'm gonna keep him. But... Oof, he's gonna get in the way. I hate to say that about my boy, but... You know. The programming makes you jealous. You don't wanna program your stupid university stuff anymore. Dude, just think of how much you're learning when you're doing that. I think that's the most important thing. Is... bettering yourself, and when you are better than you've ever been, then you can work on your own stuff.
So I'm going to say if, open bracket, not, okay, by putting an exclamation mark in front of the condition. I'm saying if it's not true, just as we did with our while statements here, where I put an exclamation mark in front of place meeting. So if not place meeting x y plus 1 o wall. So this is exactly the same thing that we wrote up here, okay, where we were checking to see if we were on the floor so we could jump. It's exactly the same, only we're checking if it's not true rather than checking if it is true. Now, if you're a bit more experienced, you might realize that this is actually slightly not the most efficient way of doing things. Like you should try and minimize the number of collision checks you do, especially with the number of wall objects we've got going on.
Oh?
We might look into a better collision system later down the line in general for this game, but for now we're just using this. But because like we've done this check once, okay, x, y plus 1 wall, we shouldn't really do it again if we can avoid it, which we could by saying if we did this check, setting like a variable, like on the floor, for example, as a variable, like if I did like on the floor equals 1 when we're touching the floor. Although I would then have to get rid of this and key jump, so it only does it when we're touching the floor, not just when we do that and press jump and so on.
He's babbling a bit.
And
it's
then
fine.
instead of doing another check later on, we could just check that variable, which is faster. It's faster to check a variable than it is to do a whole nother collision check, okay, code-wise. Something to kind of bear in mind, but it's not too important right now.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Game. We don't really have to worry too much about the very minute details of
This guy, the Sean guy, seems like a great teacher. I like that he babbles about stuff that actually matters. Because, like, I mean, he's basically just saying, hey, listen, I'm teaching you a newbie version of the code. Easier to understand, but down the line, potentially you could have issues if your game gets too big. And it's good to explain shit like that. It's good to say that. You know? Hey, Hasnuts, what up? Welcome.
performance and efficiency, we can,
I like that.
we can be a little bit careless for the sake of
But seriously, he is
making
good.
things clear and easy to understand. So I'm not going
And wait, when is this video from? Dude, this is 2017. I want to see what his tutorials from 2020 or 2021 are like. I want to see what he teaches like now, because this is really pretty good. He must be better at this now.
spend ages trying to make things super efficient. Just in case some of you are watching this with a bit more code experience and be like, why did you do it like that? That's why. I'm just trying to keep things straightforward, okay?
Yeah,
So,
and in a
sorry
way
for
that I
little
understand.
tangent, but back down here, what we were doing before. So if not place meeting x, y plus 1 over wall. So if there's not a collision, 1 pixel immediately below us, okay? So what do we want to do if there's not a collision 1 pixel immediately below us? Well, it means we're in the air. So one thing we can definitely do is say sprite index equals s player a. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it's taken the sprite index, we can see turns green, and as we know, a green thing is a property of the object that we're writing this code for. So property of O.
That's such a nice green color.
In this case, our sprite index, which basically tells the object what sprite to use, okay? In the resource tree, all your different sprites, you can set it to different sprites, and that'll tell the object what sprite to use. By default, it's whatever you set it as in the object, which is sPlayer, or our idle sprite. So by changing it to sPlayer A, we're going to change to our air sprite, which...
Stop! I want to test it. Oh, of course, because now it's on the air sprite permanently because I fell and it's not switching back. Gotcha.
As you can remember, is just an up frame and a falling frame, okay? Because of that, we then want to set our image speed to 0. You can see that's turned green. That's another built-in property. That's how fast
we've used that.
The animation should happen if you've got multiple frames. But as we discussed earlier, if I go to this sprite, we don't actually want it to animate because that would look like this, which is not what we want.
No.
We'll want this one to animate, our running sprite, later, because
Cute.
that's an actual animation. But this one we don't want to animate. We just want to pick one of these frames to
Funny, the more I look at it, the more I do think that Jay is right, and it looks like cyanide and happiness. It does.
show, okay? Something you might, if you're coming from GameMaker 1.x, if you're not, if you're starting GMS 2, don't worry, ignore this little bit I'm just going to say. But if you're coming over from 1.x, you might be used to image speed working a little bit differently. Before, image speed used to actually set the number of frames per step, essentially. So like at 60, room speed of 60, an image speed of 1 would actually mean your sprite would animate at 60 frames a second, right? Here, the image speed is a multiplier instead. It's a multiplier that's applied to the sprite. You now actually set the animation speed in terms of frames per second in the sprite itself. Okay, well, here where it said speed, previously that was just used in GMS1 to preview an animation speed, and then you would set it all in objects. Now that actually sets the animation speed of your sprite. So here I've got...
I wonder, this is just a question for like anyone that's maybe done this kind of stuff before. So if you're running the speed of the sprite at like 15, would that look jarring in any way if you run in the game itself at 60? I'm assuming because you're doing pixel art style here and like a much more simplistic style, it would probably look fine regardless, right? It wouldn't look jarring. I mean, I know we're sort of going to see it now, but we're going to see a very simplified version. I'm just wondering, like, if there's any downside. Depends on the visual aesthetic. I think that might be what it comes down to, right? Because I've realized that certain games have stuff like... I saw it in Remnant from the Ashes and it annoyed me greatly, but where there's some stuff that's like lower FPS and higher FPS, but okay, so it's not really a big thing. I should make sure mine are set to 15, but I think they are.
them at 15 frames a second. It's kind of a reasonable animation speed. Makes it easier to kind of like actually set it, because you can get it to exactly the frames per second you want, and you know that this is what it's actually going to look like in the game, at least when you have an image speed of 1. So if I had an image speed of 2, it would play this at twice the speed. It would play at something like that in the game, okay? But because I have this set to 15 and I will have an image speed of 1 when I use it, it'll play it at this speed. Whereas at this one, by setting image speed to 0, we're going to multiply this 15 by 0 so that we get 0 frames a second, so it's always just still. Okay? Sorry for that little detour. You can ignore that if you're starting in GameMaker Studio 2, or hopefully maybe it made sense to you. I don't know. But either way, image speed is a multiplier that affects the speed of your sprite, which, as I said, you can set in the sprite.
Yeah, with remasters, you oftentimes see them having to lock the engine itself to a lower FPS, and then they make the animations and some of the other stuff higher. But it seems to work out. Yeah, dude, I'm so excited for on that note, I'm so excited for the Diablo 2 remaster. Oof.
So for our air sprite, we want that to be 0. We don't want an image speed at all. But how do we know which frame we actually want to use? Well, that depends on whether we're going up or down. Now, if we're in the air, we're going to have a vertical speed of some description, right? And we want to check to see if that vertical speed
is greater than 0.
Negative. Now, we already kind of know how to do that. If you remember from last time, I went a bit quick with this last time, so sorry if you did forget. We did sine VSP. The function sine returns 1 if a number is positive and -1 if it's negative. Okay, so all I have to do is check whether or not sine VSP is greater than 0, for example. If it's greater than 0, it means it must be 1, which means it must be positive. And if VSP is positive, it means we're moving downwards. Okay, it means we're moving positively in the y direction, which means we're moving downwards. Remember, positive in the y direction is down, negative in the y direction is up. Okay, so if
I need to listen to that again. Okay, so
it must be 1, which means that
this is actually sort of what Dave and you guys as well. When I tried to yesterday make my slime, when I tried to program the jump in myself, and then I had to I had to make it negative instead of positive. I didn't realize how that worked. He's kind of explaining it here. I'm just listening again, Clee.
It must be positive, and if VSP is positive, it means we're moving downwards. Okay, it means we're moving positively in the y direction.
So VSP,
moving downwards.
Vertical speed down is positive and up is negative. It's kind of weird.
Remember, positive in the y direction is down, negative in the y direction is up. Okay?
For y.
So
yes.
if sine VSP greater than 0, okay, greater than symbol 0. So if that's
that
greater than
I
0,
understand.
as I said, it means we're moving.
This I understand. I love that this is understandable. Greater than 0, man. Yeah. So if it's even like a smidget above 0, then you know you're falling. Well, you're in the air. Yeah, dude. Diablo 2 is a super risky one to remaster because it's one of like the biggest action RPGs of all time. People love that shit. They still play it.
Moving down. So if we're moving down, we need to use the falling frame. So let's go back quickly to this sprite, see which frame is which. So you see our first frame here is our jumping frame, and our second frame is our falling frame.
What? Oh, I see.
Frame indexes start at 0, even though it says here current frame 1 of 2. In terms of the index, the first frame is frame 0, and the second frame is frame 1. Okay, it counts from 0 upwards.
Can one see that anyway in the program, I wonder?
So like in our 4-frame sprite, you've actually got 0, 1, 2, 3, for example. Just worth remembering that. Let's go back to our code. So if we are moving down, we want it to be that second frame. The second frame is frame number 1, okay? As weird as that might seem. So image index rather than sprite.
Wait, he didn't open new brackets, this nerd.
Sprite index determines which sprite we're using. Image index determines which frame of that sprite we're using. Okay, so image index equals 1. Okay, so if we're moving negatively, if we're moving positively, which means we're moving down, set the frame to be frame 1. Otherwise, else image.
No, I'm just shouldn't. If it's an if statement, don't you need curly brackets? Oh, single line ifs don't require brackets. Oh. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong then, but if he was putting image index in there and say image speed in there, then he'd need the brackets, right? Is that correct? Because I would like it if he explained that here.
Index equals 0. Now, I apologize if I've not explained. I don't think we did this before. I've done what's called an inline if statement.
Ah! He's explaining it! Jeez! Wow, dude!
So you remember before when I explained if statements, I said that if the condition in the brackets is true, you do whatever's in the curly brackets.
Fantastic. He's explaining it.
You don't actually have to use those curly brackets.
This guy.
You can actually just put the command you want to do immediately after the brackets like that, and that's called an inline if statement. Okay, so that's just one line.
Okay, let me type that in.
If statement there. And you see I ended it with a semicolon there, which tells GameMaker where the sort of line of code officially ends, which means I can actually start coding again right away, even though it's, you know, physically still on the same line. GameMaker interprets it as kind of the next
That's
line.
clean code,
what I
dude.
do is use this else statement, and what else does is,
I mean, I could do this, right?
if the condition here
but
is not true,
this is fine. Like, it looks
it'll
nice
do
like
this
that.
stuff instead, okay?
Mm.
That's different to say just putting it down here, because then if we just put it down here, it would happen regardless of whether or not this was true. But by putting it after an else statement, it's only going to do it if this is not true, okay? So if it is true, do this. If it's not true, do that. Something else I should point out with semicolons as well that might have been a tripping point for people on the first part of the tutorial is I remember I said that you put a semicolon at the end of every single line. When you're doing a statement like an if statement or a while statement that opens a pair of curly brackets, you don't want to put a semicolon on the end of the line where those brackets open, okay? So not at the end of like an if statement like this or a while statement like this, because you're not actually officially sort of ending the line.
This is good learning, dude.
So I know it gets
I'm so
a little
down.
confusing, okay? But you put a semicolon at basically the end of every line except for if statements, while statements, and so on when you're opening a pair of curly brackets. If I'm doing an inline one, then I do want to put a semicolon on the end, because it's just one complete line. It doesn't open a block of code, and we want to tell it to officially end, okay? Don't worry too much if you don't understand all of the whys and hows of that. Just understand the rules, get used to them, and you'll understand it when you need to, okay, basically.
It's good. That's good.
So anyway, sorry, there were a few tangents there, but basically if our vertical speed is positive, then we set the first frame. If it's negative, then we set the second frame, okay? And then that's our falling animation stuff done. In fact, we should be able to basically just see that working now if I run the game.
I want to see it in my game first. Oh, cool, dude. That's actually kind of sick. And let's check quickly the... Oh yeah, we're running over it. Fantastic. Because the layers are set up. Now, Taraxa said he did some fancy stuff here with like platforms to jump on and whatever. Kind of sick, man. Kind of sick. Okay. I could do the same if I wanted.
So you can see if I jump now, it uses our jump animation, and if we fall, it swaps to our kind of falling sprite, okay? So we're getting somewhere now. We've got a little bit of animation going on now. We just need to sort out our animation for when we're on the floor, okay? So I'm going to make use of this else statement again, but this time with a block of code, okay? So if this condition returns true, so if not place meeting, etc.
You used the slime! Oh, yes. Oh my god. Sorry, I'll bring it back. You used the slime. Oh, that's fantastic. He deserves to be in the main character. Fantastic, Taraxa. I still haven't thought of a name for him yet. Cause like, you know, it's so easy coming up with a lame name for the slime, but you need one that has meaning, that makes sense, that we'll see when the game comes around, because this weekend we might start on that. We'll see how it goes. Hey Vespa, what up, man? Yo.
If that returns true, we do all of this stuff. But what if it doesn't return true? We can type else and do this stuff only when this isn't true, okay? So instead of just doing it afterwards where it would happen regardless, by putting it in an else statement, it happens only if this isn't true, okay? So this means we are touching the floor, okay? Because not place meeting x, y plus 1 wasn't true. Okay, so we are touching the floor.
What we up to? We're doing Sean Spalding's platformer tutorial, episode 2.
In which case, we want to set our image speed to be 1, because we want to be animating. All of our other sprites will want to animate, so we'll set image speed to 1. And then we're going to check to see if our horizontal speed is 0. So I'm going to say if HSP equals 0. I'm going to open another block and close the block. Okay, just going to press F12, pick up that space a bit more. So you'll notice I've done 2 equal symbols here when I check this, okay? The difference between writing 2 equal signs and a single equal sign is when you're doing a comparison.
Good shit, Sean!
If statement, like you're asking GameMaker a question. You're saying, is horizontal speed equal to 0? You use 2 equal signs. If you're assigning, so you're saying image speed equals 0, so you're setting a property to be something else, then you use a single equal sign, okay? So there's a difference between assigning, setting, and comparing or asking a question, right?
I didn't look at his history, but I wonder if this guy was a teacher before, because he has that way of talking about him.
Okay. It doesn't matter too much. GameMaker will let you get away with doing that. Like if HSP
Maybe he's just done a lot of tutorials.
It is bad practice. The reason I say it's worth doing things that are good practice is if you ever move on into other programming languages where it does matter, you'll already have good habits in place if you do things properly from the beginning, okay? So if HSP equals 0, so is our horizontal speed 0? And if it is 0, well, what on earth do we want to do? We want to set our sprite index
to the basic stand-in one.
S player,
yeah.
Which is our idle sprite. That's the default sprite we were using initially, because it means we're on the floor and we're not.
I want to also just point out the reason I keep dragging the video over to this side and I don't just tab back in here is because I want to be able to see the code on my other monitor here, and I don't. I can't do that if I'm tabbing out. So like it's easier for me if I watch it while he's over here.
So we just set our sprite index to be our default one, and then we're going to open up another else statement. So I'm going to say else, open curly bracket, close curly bracket.
That's a lot of statements, dude.
Oh, and remember, of course, this should say equals 1. I forgot to put the equal sign in there. So if our horizontal speed is not 0, whatever we put in here is going to happen because this is our else statement. So if it's not 0, then we want to use our running sprite.
The running one.
Okay, sprite index equals S player R this time. Okay, that's our running sprite. So if speed is 0, idle sprite. If it's not 0, running sprite. Alright.
And 1 will give us 15 FPS.
That's more or less it. If I press F5, there is one thing we still need to do, but we'll see that in a second.
Let's just check this out. Dude! Oh, he needs to flip the... We just need to flip the sprite around. Dude, that's actually really cool. And like the subtle up look and down look is kind of nice. That's really good. Yeah. And he's about to say that we just need to flip the Dudo around. He's about to say that. Because he's not turning when we run, which is fine. Man, that's kind of cool. We get in somewhere, huh? Carry on, Sean.
So if I land, you can see a jump, I fall, and if I run, I actually use a running animation. Now the only problem is, if I move left, I don't face the right direction.
And we did this ourselves.
Layering stuff we did earlier.
That's cool.
As well, because we show up over the top of the walls. So now the last thing we need to do to really sort of finish this off is make it so we actually face the correct direction, okay? So how on earth do we do that? Well, you'll notice all of my...
So does GameMaker support 3D models like what Ori did? I know you can do 3D stuff. Because if you go look at their... showcase, I feel like Artful just go to YoYo Games and look at this section on their website, and you'll basically see just keep scrolling down on this, and you'll see like there's a lot of random stuff on there, but there's a lot of stuff as well that uses like 3D models in 2D worlds, I think, and then there's even stuff that's like there's even I think the very first one there is like a this is like a 3D thing here, if I'm not mistaken. This is gonna be loud. Hold on. Oh god. Oh, but okay, it's a sprite-based 3D. Damn, that's kind of sick. It supports 3D assets, but it's not actual 3D game worlds. Yeah. For 3D, there are better engines. I agree. I agree. If you're going to go for 3D, I suppose you wouldn't be doing this, but this is kind of sick, dude. That's really cool looking. There's a made with GameMaker section. Forager is fantastic, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen Forager. And I want to point out that this right here, this asset pack, I saw it on itch. I'm almost certain that this asset pack came from itch.io. Forager is a great game. Yeah, I played the demo of it, and I saw Dodger playing it for a little while. It's a cool game. It's really well done. But this exact asset pack you can get. So people saying, hey, you can't use... Maybe they modified one or two small things like the heroes. No, even... No. Even the faces of your main character, and then the... even this little model is there. It's all there. It's all there. Basically, there must be some custom models, like maybe the bosses and stuff. But I'm just saying, you know, people saying, oh, you know, shit, don't want to make a game with someone else's asset, dude. No, you make the game well, you make it fun. It doesn't matter what assets you used. But yeah, you can look at the showcase. I linked it there, and there's some super cool stuff here, man. There's some really cool stuff. Like, really cool stuff. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Hey, Sam, what up? Welcome.
Sprites face to the right. Maybe I should have pointed this out earlier in case you're following along and designed your own sprites. But whenever you're doing anything where you think you're going to have to flip a direction or change rotation, even if you're doing top-down sprites, always design the sprite initially facing to the right. Okay, that's very good practice. You'll see why later. But because we have all these sprites facing to the right, what I could do is draw a separate sprite, having him face to the left, especially if I had stuff on him that wasn't going to mirror very well, like he had a letter or word on his chest or something like that, then maybe I would want to design a proper left-facing sprite.
I didn't
but
think
because
of
he
that.
looks like this, I can pretty much just flip him left and like flip him horizontally, and I'll probably get away with that. It'll look okay. So that's all I'm going to do, rather than actually making another separate sprite. So how do I do that? Well, there's a property, another green word we can use. Oh, not in here. We'll just do it after this whole section. Called image x scale.
Aha!
Okay? Image x scale determines a horizontal scaling of our sprite. Okay. If we set it to, it's kind of a percentage sort of based thing.
I'm glad I'm getting this explained to me though.
Based thing. So if it's 1, that's like 100%. So 100% scaling. That's our normal default scaling. He'll draw at the same size as the sprite. If we set it to 2, I can show you what that looks like. If we set image x scale to 2, we'll see that we've got a super wide horizontal sprite. Okay, it's just gone a bit fatter. And you can change y scale as well.
Oh hey, Thrinmore, what's up, man? For later games, don't use x scale to skip the sprite, because the collision skip, you can stuck it in the walls. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm assuming there's a better, more elegant version then?
Scaling vertically, but we don't need that. The interesting thing about this being a multiplier is if we set it to a negative number, so I set it to -1, he'll face the other direction. So you can see now he's facing to the left, just constantly. It just horizontally flips the sprite. Okay, and a semicolon on the end should be there as well. But we want to do this based on whether or not we're moving left or right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type if HSP is not 0, okay, because we don't want to change our direction if we're not moving, we just want to leave it at whatever it was before. Image x scale equals sine HSP, because you can remember sine of anything returns 1 if it's positive, -1 if it's negative. You can tell by now it's a very, very useful function. It gets used quite a lot. If it's 1, that means we're facing to the right? If we set our image x scale to 1.
I need to learn how to use that much better. Because like he's using this sign thing so much, and I understand it, but I don't think I could like, dude, I don't think I could just pull it out of a hat and at like a moment's notice make it work. So like I'm gonna make a mental note. This piece right here, or at least this code that I've just written here, I must come back and revisit this every now and then so I can just understand how this sign thing works, because it seems like a fantastic thing.
HSP is not 0.
Yo, mates. Hello.
Okay, because we don't want to change our direction if we're not moving. We just want to leave it at whatever it was before. Image x scale equals sign HSP. Because you can remember, sign of anything returns 1 if it's positive, -1 if it's negative. You can tell by now it's a very, very useful function. It gets used quite a lot.
So you just put whatever you want inside of the sign's brackets. Yeah, well, I mean, what? So, like, basically... shit. So, in this specific situation, image x scale equals HSP. He could just use image x scale equals HSP. He could use that there. No. No, this is for facing left and right. That wouldn't work, would it? Mates, let me check that out. Shift and Windows left and right. Someone else told me how to do this the other day. I didn't realize it moved just the thing I had selected. I thought it moved like everything on the monitor over. That's fantastic. I'm going to use that. Thank you. That's so much quicker than clicking and dragging. I appreciate that so much, mates. Dude, that's going to save me time. But someone, I want to just say, I don't want to discredit the person that said this before you said it. It might have been Traxxar, it might have been Artful, it might have been Edgy, it might have been anyone. I can't remember. Anyway, it's just saying. Fantastic, thank you. So, because his move is already at either 1 or -1, depending on which key you're holding down. Oh, so you're making it, was it Sam? No, wait, was it Sam? Sam? Legend. Beautiful. Dragon Windows is tiresome, but it does improve your aim in FPS shooters. Anyway, okay, yeah, so, okay. So, because your horizontal movement is always equal to sign HSP. So it's either 1 or -1, depending on which way you're going, basically. Is that really how it works? We're talking about Windows Shift Arrow, yes. It's amazing. I was just told how to use it with it just moves the single window over. I knew it worked, but, you know. Yes, Cortis, I saw the news about the new Switch later this year, but I also read the Reddit comments, and everyone's saying that it's going to be almost impossible to get one. Plus, everyone's saying that it's going to be quite expensive, so we'll have to see. It's probably going to be very expensive for us here, and I mean, maybe the availability might not be a big deal, because people don't really like Nintendo here. We'll see. I'm excited though. I am, because I will get that when it comes out if I have some funds available. You can write, okay, if HSP is greater than 0, image scale equals 1. If else, image scale equals -1. See, I love that. Thrunmore, thank you. Okay, so that's another line of code that could work. Oh no, dude, it's not going to be. It's not. Look, you can't compare it to a PS5 or Xbox, whatever the new one is called. But in any way. But they said it's $399, which is still pretty damn expensive, man. Okay, carry on, Sean. Did I get the code? I'm going to use these keys now. Thank you so much. Okay, I got the code. Listen, all I'm saying is I'm going to revisit sign. I'm going to make a note. Revisit sign. General learning notes. Revisit sign. Is future me gonna know what the hell that means? I hope so. Okay, carry on, Sean.
If it's 1, that means we're facing to the right, right? If we set our image X scale to 1, that faces us to the right, as I demonstrated. If we set it to -...
Oh shit, dude. Switch games are so expensive here. My next question about the Switch was, is there an online store? Because if I can buy stuff online and I can skip out on the local retailers, that would be so much better. It's just like, dude, they charge a Switch game right now, or at least let's say when it came out, a Switch game was almost double what a PlayStation 4 game cost. Almost double. Like just a bit less than double. Switch games are expensive, dude. 400 is getting into PS5 digital territory. That's what I'm saying. It's expensive. Doc Snake Cake, what's up, man?
One, it'll flip us around and face us to the
No, here they're about $90 or $80 to $90 for a Switch game. It's ridiculous.
left. And by just basing that on our horizontal speed, when our horizontal speed is positive, it's because we're moving to the right, and when it's negative, we're moving to the left. So that's a really perfect, elegant way of working out which direction we need to face. And
Sorry, I keep pausing. I can explain it. I can tell you why. So the reason it's much more expensive here is because the demand is much lower. So the reason it's because they don't bring a lot. They can't bring as much in terms of bulk orders into the country, so they probably have to pay more for it. I mean, geez, we live in South Africa, and Switch and Nintendo products are in general just far less popular than PlayStation. And I think even Xbox is less popular than PlayStation. PlayStation is just the king here. So, yeah, we kind of lose out where the pricing is concerned on that. Kind of sucks, but it's cool. If I can use the eShop, that's fantastic. You're not seeing the appeal of Switch or Nintendo? Breath of the Wild, Mario. Games to play with my daughter, Artful. That's it. The appeal is family-friendly games for me. For me. Other people, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't see the appeal. But for me, family-friendly. That's the main reason.
setting our image X
And Breath of the Wild.
scale accordingly. So now if I run the game, we have everything. Okay, we can move left and right. We've got a running animation, jumping, falling animation,
Fantastic.
and our hitbox works perfectly, and you can see we overlay properly, we don't go underneath the wall, and it's all there. Okay, so next up in probably the next episode,
Let's check this out. Steam has family-friendly games? I know. I know. But it's like you can't get... There are family-friendly games everywhere. It's just you can't get cool stuff like Mario or Zelda or... I mean, not that Zelda is super family-friendly, but there's a lot of exclusives that I like on Switch. I have been trying to find nice family-friendly games, but man, Lillian is a character. She has very specific tastes.
we will look at giving our guy some arms, okay? I'll give him a weapon that he can use. Show you
That's
how to shoot
happening next?
projectiles.
Amazing.
Make a weapon that follows the mouse and do all sorts of other fun
Amazing,
stuff.
dude.
Okay. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon supporters, without whom I couldn't make any of these videos. Special shout out in particular to Inner Mule, Giles Montgomery, Dan, Angel Rodriguez, Harold Gidry, Roxom, Jason McMillan, and Owen Morgan. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce any of those. Sorry if I did. Thank you again very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, maybe subscribe. If you really like it, maybe join these cool kids by supporting me on Patreon.
Good man, Sean.
Of course, these are just suggestions. You can do whatever you want. That's what free content is there for. Isn't the internet brilliant? Thanks for watching, guys.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really
Subscribe?
good,
Oh, yeah.
perfect words that make your
I'm
writing
not signed
sharp
in. I'm not
or
signed in. That's
explicit
why I
or
am
excellent.
subscribed. I am subscribed
See you
on
next
my main account. Play now.
Hello, everybody, and
Remember, I logged into Firefox here. I'm anonymous.
welcome to part 3. In this part, we're going
That's
to
sick.
be covering giving our player a gun. We're going to give him a gun, and he's going to be able to shoot some stuff, and we're going to
Rat-a-tat-tat-tat.
give it a bit of recoil on the gun, bit of kickback, make the gun follow the mouse around, and it's going to be very exciting. The beginning of this is going to be very straightforward. It's going to be pretty simple, but then a little bit later in, we'll be learning about some new functions that we've not used before called length_x and length.
Did he just pause his character in the air when he jumped and shot? Let me see that again, dude.
About some new functions that we've not used before.
Hey, what happened there? Did he lag? What's that?
That we've not used before called length_x and length_y. So do keep an eye out for that and try and make sure you understand it when it does come up. because it will be very, very useful to you going forward if you decide.
Hold on, stop that.
That we don't use
What's he
before,
saying?
called length_x and length_y. So do keep an eye out for that and try and make sure you understand it when it does come up, because it will be very, very useful to you going forward if you decide to stick around and keep making video games, which I hope you do. Before any of that, though, the first thing we need to do is just bring in a sprite for the weapon we're going to have. Okay, so I'm going to right-click in sprites, hit create. We know how to do this by now. Hit import. I'm going to bring in S.
Yeah, so we could have had a... You're right. We could have had a... Wait, what did he do? He went to sprites and he clicked... Import? How does he... This is so random, dude. Oh, he makes a new sprite. Right. Okay. Sprite. New sprite. I could have had arms on my slime. Sure.
We know how to do this by now. Hit import. I'm going to bring in S gun. Okay, I'm going to make sure from now on as well all the resources. I said this before, but I didn't get around to it yet. But from now on, when this video goes out, all the resources will be in the description of the video for you to get, in case you want to follow along and use my exact resources so that you get everything line by line exactly how I've done it. You might learn a bit more if you're using your own assets, because you'll have to change some numbers around a little bit just to make everything work out perfectly. But it's up to you. You can do whatever you like. I'm going to name this sprite S gun. Okay, and then I'm going to position the origin
on the handle.
I'm not going to have it exactly in the middle. I'm going to have it kind of between the two hands. I know it's hard to see with zoom. But the idea here is like a hand.
Yo, Kitsubin, what up? I can't wait. We actually have a 3DS. I keep mentioning it, but we don't have a lot of games for it. I don't know.
Around there and a hand on there.
We'll see.
Looks a little clearer when it's actually on the player sprite. But yeah, about 10 by 4. That's where I'm going to have that there, just by dragging that crosshair to the right place. Okay, so our next step, as usual, is to add an object for the sprite we just created, right? So I'm going to right-click in Objects, hit Create, and call it O-Gun, just the same as the sprite, just the same as the pattern we've been using for everything else. Going to set the sprite to match S-Gun for O-Gun, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in the room, and I'm going to add it to its own layer, because we want to make sure it always shows up in front of the player. So I'm going to create a new layer called Gun, and I'm going to drag a new instances layer for that matter, it's the one with the little circles. I'm just going to drag O-Gun into the room while we've got that layer selected, okay? And that just guarantees that we get our depth ordering correct. Because, I mean, I could put this on the same layer as the player, and, like, a lot of the time it would probably work out and you could probably get away with it, but you can't rely on two objects on the same layer always being correctly shown, okay? If you want to, you need to, if you want it to be consistent, and if it matters whether or not one object is drawn in front of another, you have to have them on separate layers, okay? It's really is the best practice. Now, the reason...
we have a 3DS that folds open. Honestly, I prefer whatever the one is that's just a square, like a rectangle. Like, just the rectangle. Like, the one that doesn't have the flippy piece. Because I feel like that is just so much more... both A, durable, and B, manageable. I don't know. Like, is that a 2DS? What is it? Is that... I don't know, whatever that is cool. I like that one.
But I've made the gun as a separate object, and we've got our kind of player with no arms running around, is because I kind of want the gun to be able to...
2DS doesn't... Let me check. 2DS. The one that doesn't fold. Oh. No, the 2DS does fold. Look. Oh, there's one that doesn't fold. Is that the one that doesn't fold? That looks foldy. Oh, is that the XL? Oh, it's the XL. Ah, okay. I see. I mean, I don't know if that's... I mean, I don't know. Okay, this looks better for, like, kids to use. For sure. This one. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it's not that much different. We have a 3DS. We have this one. This exact one here. The blue one. It looks like it's the default one. Yeah, we've got this one. That exact one right there. Yeah, that's the one. Brand new. Can't wait. Huh. Okay. There it is. It's the poster child. That's the one you had? Did you say it hurt your hands? Hmm.
Move and act freely of the player, okay? So even though it's going to be kind of locked to the player in terms of position while the player is walking around, obviously, he doesn't want to actually float like this, detached from him. I want to be able to point it wherever the mouse is, and maybe give it a bit of recoil and stuff when we're shooting and things like that. And that stuff's just a bit easier to accomplish and easier to think about when you're working with it as a separate object. Okay, it's not the only way you could do those things, but it is probably one of the simplest. So at the moment, if we were to run the game, we'd just get our player would run around and have all the stuff we had from the previous episode, but the gun would just hover there because we haven't done anything with it, right? So what we're going to do is make the gun follow the player around, and you'll see as I do this, one of the other reasons for making it a separate object is it lets me do some fun stuff. So I'm going to double click an gun just to bring us to our gun object. Here I'm going to press F12, gives a bit of space.
He barely uses events.
And then I'm going to add the begin step event, okay?
Ooh, first time I see this.
I've used the step event before, which is an event that just happens every single frame of the game, right? And the begin step works exactly the same way, only begin steps will happen before any steps happen, okay? So if you need something that needs to happen every frame but needs to happen before any other object's step event, you can do that using a begin step, and you can do the opposite by using the end step and do something after every other step event has taken place that frame, okay? Now,
what happens if you have
I'll
two begin
explain
step events?
why we're using this particular step event in a moment. The code I'm going to write in here is simply x equals oplayer.x, semicolon, and y equals oplayer.y, semicolon.
No ways, is that it?
Now I'm going to run the game and kind of demonstrate what this does. So you'll notice the gun is kind of moved and it's kind of on our head at the moment. Which is
That's so gangster. Oh my god, let's see this quickly. Oh my god, perfect. It's really good actually. I mean, it looks pretty good, but it's really gangster. Look at that shit. I love it. Okay, Sean, keep talking.
the problem that we will fix. But as I move around, you might notice something. Now, the code I've written
it's
there,
gangster, man.
probably worked it out.
I don't know.
It's pretty simple. It's just setting our X and Y coordinate to match whatever our player's is. But if you noticed, it doesn't quite keep up. You'll notice there's a slight bit of lag.
I actually like the way it looks.
If you look very closely between
Yes.
where the player is and where the gun is. The gun, it appears to be, and because it is actually one frame behind the player.
Oh.
Until you stand still, and then it's...
That's cool. I think it looks nice like this.
But while you're moving around, it's always one frame behind, and that's because we're updating it in the begin step event. And doing this allows you to kind of create a very simple feeling of weight to the weapon, okay? It feels like he's actually carrying it around. Like
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Don't remove that shit. So, if I've got this right, it's one step behind because... So if I had to put the code for the player in a begin step event as well, then I suppose it would be synced up, right?
Force to it, because he's got to kind of lug it around. It's not too obvious at the moment because he's kind of carrying it on his face, so we'll fix that now. An easy way to fix that is to just add a number to the Y coordinate. Let's just bring it down a bit, okay? And just manipulate this number until you get it in the right spot. Now, you might be thinking, well, why not just change the origin point for that, okay? If we look just up at our...
Oh my god.
At our gun over here.
Oh my god, that's
our
perfect.
Origin is in between our two hands here. If I were to just raise the origin point up, that would achieve the same thing as doing this. But we want to be able to rotate this gun around and do other things based on its origin later that aren't going to work very well if our origin is up here somewhere, right? We want to keep it between these two hands.
That's cool.
Because we want that to kind of be the center point for the gun in terms of like rotation and like where it's aiming at and so on. But let's just see the effect.
Oh, it's actually one step ahead, but it looks one step behind. I'm so glad you said that because like it makes more sense that it's one step ahead. because of the fact, once again, that it's supposed to be happening first, but it does look like it's one behind, yes.
Yeah. And say +10 will work for me, and it'll work for you if you're using my assets. You might need to play with the numbers a little bit yourself to get your own asset working. But you can see now he's carrying this gun around, and because of that just little bit of lag added to the gun, he just has a tiny bit of weight.
Genius.
Tiny sensation of kind of like weight or force kind of on this gun, like it's like he's really holding it. And it's sort of like a dynamic sort of addition to your
That's such a cute little trick that he must have... I don't know how he figured this out. Probably by accident, but it's really cool. It's really cool.
animation in a way, and just helps the sprite feel a little bit more alive. Up to you, maybe you don't like the effect, but I think it helps kind of make him feel a little bit more real. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, at the moment the gun just sort of always faces to the right like this, and we're going to make it face towards wherever our mouse is. So if I close the game now and just still in this begin step event, we'll
He's doing it on purpose? Yeah, it makes it feel like there's weight behind it. I'd love to see what I think his current project's Poke. I think when we're done with this, we're going to go and look at Poke so I can see him bringing everything he's learned over the years together, because it's really cool to see.
keep doing stuff in the begin step event for now. You might want to swap to the main step event if you want. It doesn't really make too much of a difference.
No, yeah, it makes it look like the gun's attached with a rope because the arms aren't there yet. We're gonna add arms. You'll see. I'm saying you'll see, but I'm assuming you'll see.
It's for subtle things like that now and again. So I mean, it's up to you which event you want to put this in. But just for clarity, I'm just going to keep most of the stuff in the begin step event for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, so what I'm going to write in here is image_angle. And you see that turns green. It's another property of the object. Okay, just like our X and Y and our other things that we've done with our player object before. The image angle controls the angle at which the image is drawn to the screen, or the image of this object will be drawn. Okay, and by changing it, we can rotate the gun. And we want to rotate it based on where our mouse is on the screen, okay? So I'm going to type point direction, okay? This is an easy, you can see it turn yellow. It's a simple function that you give one coordinate and another coordinate, and it works out what the angle is between those two coordinates, okay? So I'm going to put in our current coordinate, which is XY, and the coordinate that we want to work out the angle to, which is the mouse coordinate.
The mouse.
And we can find that at any point in the game, in any script, anywhere. If you ever need the mouse coordinate, all you need to type in is mouse_X and mouse_Y, and that will return the current mouse position in the room of your game at the current coordinate of your mouse in that room.
Fantastic.
Okay, and because we're giving it those two coordinates, that's all we need. We can close the bracket now, add the semicolon, and now that's going to make sure our gun points towards our mouse. Okay, so if I run the game there.
Fantastic.
I've always loved sci-fi. And
It's the EVE Online ad.
Right on the edge of discovery.
Hold on, I'm watching this.
Frontiers of space. And doing exploration in EVE allows me to do all of that stuff.
I love the
You get to
UI,
use
dude.
cloaking devices, probes to scan down unknown parts of space. You get to go to places in space which are dangerous and unknown.
Shit.
And discover valuable ancient relics from long dead civilizations. You could even go into wormholes which take you into unknown parts of space.
Yo, that looks cool. Shit.
You could see a pulsar or a magnetar putting out waves, a furious black hole with a massive glowing red event horizon around it. And it really reminds you of where you are
Yeah.
in space and how far away you are from the recognizable surroundings of your...
EVE does always look better than it really is. Kitsu being like, you speak for the people, dude. If spreadsheets had graphics, exactly. This is not actual gameplay. They put that there. But that down there, bottom right, that's a damn lie.
of your home system. It's an incredible feeling, and you just feel like you're living on the edge of space, right on the frontier. And there's always the threat of being discovered by another player who might be out hunting explorers. And even if you do get discovered, even if you are spotted, the feeling of achievement and the feeling of narrowly missing a sticky end is unbelievable.
Shit.
That threat is what makes it a challenge. A lot of what I've done in Eve is just following
nice.
content that presents itself because of what I've chosen to do. It's all part of exploration. It's not knowing what kind of profession it's going to lead me to or what kind of activity it's going to inspire me to follow. It's perfect to give you a taste of what Eve's got to offer.
Yeah, dude, like, this is a really good ad, and it makes it seem really, really fun, man. And the visuals, like, they've actually done really well with their latest update. Don't know when it was like a year and a half ago, maybe, or some shit like that. But, like, they've done really well. Like, for a game that's, like, 20 years old, or however the hell old this thing is, they've done really well. Why are we watching Eve ads? Oh, dude, you know. Because we can. I must make this next. So I actually have a because I found this, right. Let me show you. I have this. It sort of inspired a change in one of my games. Let me show you where it is. I have this Pixel Planets thing, right. And I actually have a plan to make a part of one of my games is going to be not so much exploration really, but finding planets, going to them, landing on them, and then doing something there. And it's gonna be simple. It's gonna be simplified. I was actually asking before if there's a way to render my visual style in GameMaker to make it seem like it's like you're moving around on a planet, but that might be slightly difficult. I don't know if that's possible yet, but this sort of spurred me on to try do something like that, because there's some really cool shit you can do here, and it's just the idea of space exploration is always just fun. Yeah, so EVE Online, man, the idea of EVE Online is always better than the actual game. That's it, mates. It's exactly what I feel. I love to read about it. I love to fantasize about it, but when you actually jump in and play it, it's just not the same.
You can see it starts to spin around, and it points where our mouse is pointing. Okay, you notice there's a bit of an issue that it flips upside down when we're facing to the left, like the hands appear to be on top. Which I know some of you might like that kind of approach for like looking like you're kind of holding it over your shoulder type thing. But we will look into sort of fixing that and making it sort of standardized later, and you can play with it.
Start Star Citizen, you might finish before the devs do. What's the latest on that? I'm still waiting, man. I backed that game.
Yourself and get the exact look you want for your weapon.
I regret backing that game.
But we'll look into that much later. We've got
never backed another game since, by the way.
Other things to do first. The next thing we're going to do actually is change some of these controls around, because at the moment you might, especially if you're following along, you'll find this a bit awkward to control with our current controls. I've got the arrow keys to move and space to jump, which is fine when you've got both hands on the keyboard, but if I want to aim with my mouse, I kind of need a hand for the mouse.
WASD.
So having to stretch my hand on my keyboard, at least from the arrow keys to the space bar, is it's pretty hard. I'm doing it right now, but it's pretty difficult. So I'm going to just swap the controls to kind of a WSAD type thing, very typical kind of gamey controls, which I'll show you a bit about how to use arbitrary keyboard buttons as well as just the arrow keys and spacebar and that sort of thing. So let's come into our player object. Okay, just open this up and maximize this because it's quite a lot of code, so I won't be able to kind of see it all. At the top here where we get key left, key right, and key jump, you can see at the moment we've got keyboard check, VK left, and VK right. What I'm going to do, actually, instead of just changing these to be something else,
just add something extra. Make both.
Two long symbols like this, okay? For me, that's pressing shift and the backslash key on my keyboard.
Check that.
Look
at this. This is something new.
Might be somewhere else on your keyboard, but that's where it is for me. But you can also type the word OR, and that turns yellow, and it does the same thing.
Oh.
I'm just going to use the two symbols because
it's just
that's
OR.
what I'm used to, basically. And as you,
I mean, you know, for someone like me, the word "and," it's like this one here. Like you guys were telling me that this is "and," But the word "and" for me personally, is much easier, even though that's better practice. The two "ands." It's kind of weird, you know.
What I just typed, it means or. So after those two symbols, I'm going to write another keyboard check. And I'm going to put in, instead of VK left or anything like that, I'm going to write the word ORD, open bracket, open quotation mark, and we're going left, so we want the A key, and close those two pairs of brackets, and end with a semicolon. So what this has done here is I'm setting key left, that variable, to equal keyboard left, VK left, keyboard check, VK left, just as before, or keyboard check, ORD, A. So what OR is going to do is it kind of does a binary thing, like if this is 0,
I wonder
then key left would be 0, right? And if keyboard
if
check
it put that on
or A
W.
is also 0, then key left will also be 0.
Lightning bolt, yo man, what up, what up, what up, what up? Oh shit, I just realized I should probably flip the slime over to face to the right. I didn't realize that. I'll do that. Yo, no cap, Friday night is hard. You can't even handle the heat even though it's on easy mode. What is Friday night? Huh. I have no idea. And is usually logical, and, whereas and is a bitwise and. That's why it might look so weird. Oh, okay, okay, okay. It's a hip-hop game. Oh. Never heard of it. I don't know what bitwise is either, but I'm fine with and, or I'm fine with using these things. It's okay.
But if either one of these is 1, then key left will be 1, okay? So it'll either take this value...
Oh, it's called Friday Funkin' Night. Okay. It's pretty dope. Okay, okay, okay.
if it's true, or this
Okay.
value if it's true. If both of them are false, then it comes back false, and this will be 0, okay? But if either one of them are 1, key left will get set to 1, and that's how OR works. And you can do this multiple times. I could keep adding ORs on the end like that, and if any one of the conditions is true, we'll end up putting a 1 into key left. And what this means is we can now use the left arrow key or the A key. We can use either one in order to move left. So I'm just going to copy this section here.
Dave, yo, man. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello? I was just saying, Dave, I'm going to fix the slime. I just have to flip him to face the side that's not left. That's right.
Paste it.
Okay, so long and short is that and is optimized for conditions, and regular and just once is for actual binary conditions.
On the end of this line here, I'm going to change the A there to D. And this ORD command, as you've probably guessed, is just a function that returns the exact.
It's short for
key
keyboard.
code. Because all the keyboard, all the keys on your keyboard have like a number code associated with which sort of button, which position they are on the keyboard. And what this does is it takes the letter you want and translates it into that keyboard code, which we can then use in keyboard check to get that particular key. It's exactly what VK left is actually doing. It's just providing the code on the keyboard for the left arrow key. It just happens to be a built-in constant, whereas for arbitrary letters we need to work it out by using ORD. Okay, I'm just putting in the capital letter that you want to use. Okay, so if I run that now, we'll find
Okay, he didn't put space. He didn't put up in. It's fine. Carry on, Sean Spalding. Sean Spalding, you magnificent creature. Carry
you
on.
won't see anything different on the screen, but if you trust me, it's much easier to control now. I can use the A and D keys, and I can leave the space bar the same because I can reach that very easily with one hand. Use whatever controls you like, but there's a way of being able to use multiple different control schemes for different people. At some point in the future, we might look at rebinding keys, although that'll probably be a separate tutorial from this series.
Controller support.
And we also might look into gamepad controls a bit later on.
Oh, he just said it.
But for now, we'll leave these as
Gamepad controls, dude.
Controls.
Nice.
So we have our gun now, and it follows the mouse cursor around. The next
Let's
thing
shoot.
we want to do is actually add our bullet. Okay, we want to add something the gun can actually shoot. So I'm going to right-click in Sprites again, hit Create, Import, and I'm going to bring in sBullet_strip2. By bringing it in as a strip 2, it splits it into the 2 frames I want. Now you might be wondering why we've got these 2 different frames. We've got a big circle and then something that looks a bit more like a bullet. What I'm actually going to do is a pretty simple trick.
A simple trick?
Bullet. A pretty simple trick for creating a muzzle flash on a gun, okay, or any like a weapon that you can shoot, right?
I like simple tricks.
Because, you know, you've all seen that in games. You shoot a gun, there's a big flash at the start of the gun, kind of creates a good piece of visual feedback. And a very easy way to do that is to just make the first frame of your bullet a big white circle, a thing that looks like a big muzzle flash.
Ah.
And then all we need to do is when the bullet finishes its animation, we just tell it not to animate anymore, and then it stays in on this frame. So then
That's
the
a
bullet
sneaky
travels
little trick,
like
dude.
that. Very, very simple way of creating a
Sneaky.
muzzle flash, which you'll see in effect in a moment if that didn't make sense to you. So where we've got speed at the top here, do make sure you set this to 60.
Yeah.
That's the frame rate of our current game.
Wow.
At least I think it is. Let me check. Yep, 60 frames a second. We did do that. So you need to make sure that this is 60 because we only want to show this for 1 frame. Okay, we don't want to show it for multiple frames, otherwise the muzzle flash will appear to sort of travel.
What is this repeating icon here?
At the start of the sort of
Oh, it's when he clicks play. It's this here. Yes. Okay.
Which is where the bullet's kind of going to come from. Alright, so that's our bullet sprite, and now let's move on to making our bullet object. So right-click in Objects now, hit Create, let's call this bullet, set our sprite.
Let me just see how he clicks in Objects to create, because I feel like I'm so slow with it.
And now let's move on to making our bullet object. So right-click in Objects now, hit Create, let's call this.
Oh, see, that's so much easier. Why is it so much easier? Because when I right-click and say Create, I have to click one of these here. It's arduous, dude. It's arduous. This is arduous. Huh. Okay. I wonder if that's a setting. Weird.
Bullet. Set our sprite to BS bullet. And then what we want to do is actually create another layer in our room. So let's come back to our room editor. Because again, we want to keep making sure we have a fine control over what's shown over what and what's shown under what. So let's create another bullet layer. Let's create another instance layer, and we're going to call it bullet. Or we'll call it bullets, I guess, because there's going to be more than one of them, probably quite a lot of the time. And we're going to make sure that that's just above our gun and above our player. Okay, so it just shows up above everything, so we get a nice big circle on the end of that when we have a muzzle flash, so it doesn't go under the gun and so on. Okay. Once we don't have to place anything in the room because obviously we're going to create our bullets dynamically. Okay, so with the others we've just placed them in the room. That's one way to make an object in your game, but you can create them dynamically at runtime, which is what we're going to do next. Well, actually, okay, we're going to do a few things to the bullet object first, but then we're going to do that. Okay. First of all,
what a nerd, I love it, dude.
Bullet object, and we've got a few things we want to set up in here before we do anything else. There's not a whole lot we need to do to the bullet, we just need to set up some things just to save us a bit of time doing it later, just to make sure the bullet behaves how we want it to. Most of the stuff we want to do with the bullet is going to happen in the gun object, but we do need to set up a couple of little things here. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Add Event, and I'm going to add the other animation end event. Okay, so other animation end. So this event happens
finally he's using stuff
when the animation comes to an end. So at the moment by default we've got our bullet and it'll animate at 60 FPS and then it'll finish, and then we can
just
do
type in
something
here,
when
yes,
the animation ends.
please.
What we want to do is make sure the animation doesn't happen again. We can simply do that by typing image speed equals 0. Okay, and that will multiply our current animation speed of 60 frames a second by 0. Leaving us with a speed of 0. So it won't animate anymore. And then what we want to do though, because our animation will have finished, it will have looped back to our first frame, which is the muzzle flash. But that's not what we want. We want to fix our image on the first frame.
Image index minus 0.
We want on frame 1. So it's the second frame, but it's frame 1. I know it's kind of confusing. I think I went over this before, but this is frame 0 and this is frame 1. So we want to leave it on frame 1. And we can do that just by typing image underscore index equals 1. Okay? Just
Owned.
similar stuff to what we did with the player sprite and animation, just changing those values. And that'll make sure that we are on this circle frame for 1 frame of our game at 60 frames a second, so we just get a very, very quick flash, and then it changes to this bullet sprite for the rest of its life. Okay?
I'm so proud.
The next thing we want to do is make sure that when this bullet collides with a wall, it gets destroyed. Now, the simplest way to do this would be to go to add event, add the collision event with a wall, and just blow up the bullet. But we're going to do it
Oh no!
a slightly more complex way, just to kind of make things look a little nicer. What I'm actually going to do is use the post-draw event. So if you go to draw, you see all these various different draw events.
I was being smart.
We won't be using these for a little bit of time yet, for the most part for their intended function anyway, but we're going to use the post-draw function. The reason I'm using the post-draw function is it's a very similar event to the step event, and similar to the begin step event that sort of changed the order of when things happen.
See where being smart got me, dude? I was smart. It cost me so much time out of my life. I had to go back and delete that. I had to delete an event, dude. Yeah, I'm not going to try and be smart anymore.
This does something very similar. The draw events are quite like the step event in that they happen every single frame of the game, but they typically have to do with rendering and drawing stuff to the screen. In your main draw event,
did it backfire? Because I was smart with the other one. I was smart with image index equals 1, so it's 1 for 1 right now. Huh.
That's where your image is actually, where a sprite is actually drawn to the screen, and that's where everything involving drawing the sprite and animating it is actually done by the game engine, okay? By doing something in post-draw,
well, I guess I'm at
that's
0,
an event
but that's
that
fine.
happens for every object in the game, every frame of the game, so just like the step event, but it happens after all of our drawing and all of our rendering is finished, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here, if place meeting x, y, o wall, okay? As you'll remember from our collision stuff in our player, that's checking to see whether or not there's a collision between this object at these coordinates with this particular object type, and if there is, we do whatever comes next. And I'm not going to open curly brackets for this, I'm just going to type one simple line, instance destroy, and just get rid of it. Now you might be thinking, well, why didn't I just do this in the step event? Why do I need to make sure this happens after everything's been drawn? Well, by...
The naming of place meeting makes you cringe hard. Why though? What is the traditional name of that? Also, Dave, you need to go weigh in on the code nonsense in the code channel. Is it a collision check? Yes, but it's a custom collision check because you can do a collision check by just doing this. So there's the collision check. So I could have just typed in here instance destroy, and it would have done the same thing. So that's the collision check that I did, and that's the collision check that he did. I'm pretty sure these are the same. I'm not 100%. It's just when it, you know? So it's like there are different ways of doing it. You would have called this something different? Oh, I mean, this is just GML then, I guess. I don't know.
Doing this, it makes sure that we draw our bullet before we actually get...
Well, let's see what else there is in place. So place underscore... Place empty, place free, place snapped, replace, place instance, place, string replace. So it's place empty, free, meeting, or snapped. I don't know. Yeah, it does sound a little broken, you're right. I don't know what else they would have done, but...
rid of it, okay? Otherwise, you're not actually getting rid of the bullet on... you'll see the bullet disappear before it actually hits its target, which you might want.
Oh, but also collision check that I did won't work. Let me just mention that right now before anyone shoots me down. The one that I did won't work because it's never going to collide with the wall because they're not on the same layer. They're on different layers. So place meeting means at least that when it reaches the XY of the wall, then it destroys it. I get that. That's kind of cool. So if I was going to try and break the bricks, I could do it like this as well. I could destroy the O wall, instance destroy, and then put O wall in there, which is actually kind of fun. I'm going to try that in a moment. Hold on. When he, I'm going to actually do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make instance. I'm just going to add O wall in there when he's finished making the code for shoot-in, and then I'm going to see if I can break the walls, because that would be kind of fun.
You might want it to look like that. It's a perfectly normal thing to do. It's like that in a lot of different games. But by doing this, it means if we shoot directly down at the floor, you'll get to see the muzzle flash still. You'll still see like that first frame of animation. Because it'll get drawn before we actually find the collision with the floor and then get rid of it. Okay? So we get to see exactly where the bullet collided by doing this, which just makes things a little bit clearer. Okay. You might want to be careful with always doing this sort of stuff post-draw. You usually want to use the draw events just to do drawing stuff rather than logic, but this is just kind of one exception that kind of makes things a little bit simpler. It's just
what do you think he uses to zoom in on his mouse pointer constantly?
Listen, it doesn't really cost.
Well, it's not his mouse pointer, but
okay. But we need to actually make it so our bullet shoots, so we can actually see the result of any of this. But I'll come back to this so that you can kind
magnifying
of
glass in Windows.
Kind of see what's going on with this, and I'll show you what happens if you were to just use the step event. So don't worry too much if my explanation of that didn't make too much sense yet. So sorry about that. There was a lot of explanation for just like 3 lines of code. But let's come back to our gun object now. Let's just come back to him.
He may not zoom in at all. He does. He likely does that in editing. Oh, you think so? Because, I mean, you get the magnifier here. Right? Right? Oh, no, he's definitely not using this shit. Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god, is that 2x psi? What kind of it feels like I'm upscaling this. He doesn't use this one, that's for sure. No, it's yeah, it's kind of interesting. Oh my god, how do I close it? Wait, let's look at the settings. What is this shit? Oh, magnify less. Okay, can I close this, please? Okay. Yeah, it looks like he's just doing it in editing, yes. Seems like it.
Here, and I'll begin step. Again, I'm just going to kind of do everything in the gun.
No, he doesn't. Step. No. I saw it in his live stream as well. No, he's got some program for it, probably.
Why not, really? I could move this stuff to the step event.
No, that's editing.
So
never mind. Wait. This is editing.
What I'm going to do is going to check to see if we're pressing the mouse button, and if we are, we're going to shoot. Actually, though, before I do that, I need to add the create event, and what I need to do is add a variable in here called firing delay equals 0. Okay. Ooh, accidentally pasted a bit of code in there. Firing delay equals 0. You see that turns blue. We've created another variable. We've done this before. Okay, we've just created a word that represents a number. That word firing delay.
Yo, Lightning Bolt, you building a new PC? You think you're gonna get a new mouse? Oh, you're gonna build one in the future sometime. Yeah, right now PC parts are just heckin' expensive, dude. It might not be the best time to try and do that. Well, specifically GPUs are heckin' expensive. A mouse shouldn't be too bad.
Delay represents the number 0. And we're going to use that variable to make it so that we don't fire our gun every single frame that the mouse button is held down, okay? And we just fire it like every few frames while it's held down. Okay, so I'm going to type if mouse check button MB left. Okay, I'm going to type 2 ampersand symbols, or you can also write and if you want. This is very similar to or. So this allows us to check, I may have covered this before, I'm not sure.
It did, yes.
But this allows us to check whether 2 conditions are true, rather than only checking 1 condition. It's different to OR in that it needs both conditions to be the same. So they can either both be 0, or they can both be 1, or they can both be false, or they can both be true. They have to match, though. They have to be the same thing in order for whatever we put after the if statement to happen, okay? I'm going to use the 2 ampersand symbols because that's what I'm familiar with. Again, you can just use and if you want in place. But what I'm going to put with this and is another condition, which is firing delay less.
You in at mechanical drives, but I need to use mechanical drives for recording and for footage storage. Dude, I can't afford to buy a 4 terabyte SSD. That shit's crazy. That shit is crazy. I don't play games of mechanical drives anymore, but for recording, I use Western Digital Black. I have 2 of them. I have one for just general storage and one for recording stuff. I don't have that kind of money. I mean, I'd love to record onto an SSD. That would be fantastic. But holy shit, dude. buying anything like close to 4 terabytes of right now, at least, of solid state is just a lot of money. However, I think in not long from now, it'll probably be quite a lot cheaper.
Than 0. Okay. And I'm going to open a couple of squiggly brackets here. And this is where we're going to put our stuff to actually shoot. But just above this statement, I am going to write firing delay equals firing delay minus 1. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's just going to take this variable, reduce it by 1 every single frame, so eventually it'll go under 0. And what we'll do every time we fire a bullet is we'll set firing delay to be like 5. Okay, meaning that the next time we'll be able to shoot will be 5 frames after.
So he set up it's a timer. He set up a timer. Imagine being poor. Shit. Imagine. Yeah. Yeah, so he set up a timer. Firing delay equals firing delay minus 1 it's ticking down. So I'm assuming this is what he just did. I'm assuming. So it counts down, down, down the whole time. Let's just listen. Let's listen to this piece again quickly.
Firing delay less than 0.
Oh, did I just type it badly? Oh, sorry. Oh, I see. Sorry, there was a mistake. Yes. No, yeah. I'll watch it again, though.
A couple of squiggly brackets here.
Mistake.
This is where we're going to put our stuff to actually shoot.
I'll remove the equals now.
But just above this statement, I am going to write firing delay equals
I just want to make sure I get it.
Delay minus 1.
Yes, okay.
So what that's going to do is it's just going to take this variable, reduce it by 1 every single frame, so eventually it'll go under 0. And what we'll do every time we fire a bullet is we'll set firing delay to be like 5. Okay, meaning that the next time we'll be able to shoot will be 5 frames after our last bullet was created. Okay, and that just kind of gives us a 5-frame delay in between each shot. So we'll do that right here. We'll just type firing delay equals 5. Okay, so that only happens when we actually make the shot, which we can only do when it's below 0. And then it
so there you go. So now you set it to 5, then it's going to tick down, 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 down. When it gets to 0, we can shoot again.
Reduces by 1.
Smart,
every
dude.
Single frame. Okay. So now I'm going to introduce another new function here. I'm going to type width. Okay. What width?
Wait, we've used width.
Does as a function is okay. You provide the name of another instance.
Silver, you like his voice? That's good. That's good, because we're going to be listening to a whole lot of it going forward. Shouldn't it be, what is that, smaller than or equals to? I think you could probably put that in, and friendly cosmonaut lady would probably say you'd do that just in case.
Or another object, so I could do like player or something, for example. It's not what we're going to do, but for example. And then open another pair of squiggly brackets. And what this would do is instead of applying whatever code we write in here to our gun object, it would apply it to whatever object or whatever instance of an object we play.
Oh my god. Okay. He's opening all sorts of damn brackets here. Again, Sean Spalding. Again, please.
Introduce another new function here. I'm going to type width. Okay, what width does as a function is okay. You provide the name of another instance or another object. So I could do like player or something, for example. It's not what we're going to do, but for example, and then open another pair of squiggly brackets. And what this would do is instead of applying whatever code we write in here to our gun object, it would apply it to whatever object or whatever instance of an object we place inside the brackets. So if I did anything in here, like x equals x plus 5 or something, that wouldn't happen to the gun, even though we're in the gun's begin step. It would happen to the player, okay? It's very, very useful, the with statement. Very, very useful. What I'm going to put in here is actually another function which creates a new instance. Type instance underscore create underscore layer.
Bullet.
Okay, this creates an instance of another object. You might have heard me say before, I'm not sure if I covered it in this specific series, but your objects are like the blueprints of your code, okay? It's easy to sort of fall into the mistake of thinking that the things running around inside your game are your objects, but they're not. They're actually instances of your objects. They're copies, if you will, of the blueprint that you've established in the game. So our player in the actual game world is an instance of O player. And so we can create new we can create new instances in the game of other objects by using commands like instance underscore create underscore layer. And I'm going to open this, and I'm going to give it the coordinates where we want to make the instance, which is wherever our gun is, so X and Y. And we want to give it the layer that we want to create the object on, and that's going to be bullets. Okay, make sure you add the quotation marks there, that's quite important. And then the name of the object type that we're going to create, okay, and we want to create an O bullet. So after doing all of that, why on earth have I stuck this inside a with statement? Well, by putting this in a with statement, what instance create layer actually does, and you don't need it to do this every time, but when you run this function, it actually produces a result. So I could type like the name of a variable, like bullets equal instance create
What?
layer.
Excuse me, why?
Like that, right?
Why is mine giving me an error? If I... Oh shit!
So you're a programmer. You're coding along, and you run.
Hello, everybody, and
Accident!
welcome to
Ah
part
shit!
3.
Where was
The
I?
same, so they can either specific series, but your object in the game. So I'll make the instance, which, and then the name of the object type that we're going to create. Okay,
I'm back.
An O bullet.
I'm back.
So after doing all of that, why on
But why is mine giving an error when I remove the brackies? Because he's... Anyway, let's just keep watching.
earth have I stuck this inside a with statement? Well, by putting this in a with statement, what instance create layer actually does, and you don't need it to do this every time, but when you run this function,
Now it has an error.
actually produces a result. So I could type like the name of a variable, like
I swear that wasn't there.
bullets equal instance create layer or something like that, right? And that function would actually put a value inside the word bullet. You don't have to do it like that. You can just do the function on its own, but by doing it in this sort of way, it puts a value into this with statement, and what that value is the instance ID of the instance you've just created. So we're going to make a bullet, and we get its ID, which allows us to then do stuff with it using the with statement. Okay, it's kind of a 2-for-1. It allows us to create the object and then provide its ID to the with statement to then do stuff immediately to that instance. Okay. What we want to do to that instance is we want to make it move. We're going to give it a speed. So we're going to type speed, and you can see that turns green. That's a built-in value. Equals 25 pixels a frame. Now you might be wondering, well, if speed exists and you can just give something a speed as a property, why on earth did we do all this weird movement stuff in the player? Well, speed, once you set it, is fixed, and then that object will just keep moving at that speed until you change the speed. It's a lot more manageable when you're doing complex movement, like with our player, like moving left and right and jumping and all that kind of stuff, to manage everything manually by like controlling our X and Y coordinates. But if our bullet is really simple, like it's just an object that we want to just fly off in a direction, and we don't need it to really do anything complex or respond to input in any way or really do anything complex. So I can just set a speed, and it will just move at that speed, and then I also can just give it a direction to move at that speed in, and it'll just do its own thing and basically kind of manage itself, which makes things a lot easier for us. So I'm also going to type direction, as I just said, and that turns green, represents the direction to actually apply our speed in. I'm going to type other dot image angle. Now the word other has a lot of different uses.
I think the other, specifically in this situation, if I remember what Cosmonaut said, was it's using the other object in this scenario, right? I'm basically just doing this for myself. I'm trying to remember what it is before he says it. Let's just see what he says.
And in this particular context, inside of a with statement, if you use the word other, which turns red, and then a dot, you're referring to the property of the original object. So you're referring to gun, because you remember inside with.
Because okay. So it's referring to gun and not bullet in this situation. Gotcha.
Apply
Okay.
to this bullet.
Yeah. Close enough. I wasn't exactly right,
not
but
to the gun.
that's cool.
object.
That's cool.
But we can refer back to things from the gun object by using other.
Wait, YoYo Games is owned by the Opera guys, the browser people? Huh.
Dot, okay, and then by typing image angle, we're getting the image angle of the gun, which is what we set here. Okay, so this is what's going to make our bullet move at the same direction as our gun. Okay, make sure we actually shoot right
That's cool.
away.
I saw a video.
But,
It's funny. Like, I saw a video of, and it was new. I'll show you guys what it is quickly. It's over here. Is it this one? What is GameMaker? Yeah, here's a video from YoYo Games. This was streamed live on March 22nd, and they basically this just explained all of it. And if I'm not mistaken, he mentions in here the purchase and the fact that they are, well, you know, owned by someone else now. And this is brand new, like March 22. That was 2 days ago. I'm gonna watch this in my off time. He explains everything quite nicely here. He I just had a quick look at it again. He did a live stream. This guy seems incredibly knowledgeable as well. And he explains some basics of like what you can do. He explains the GML. He explains, as you can see here, the drag and drop. It's just another nice video. And if you guys want the link, I can obviously link it if you'd like to see it. But I've just got a bunch of videos that I'm gonna watch off camera, I guess. Ooh, this looks nice. Melee attacks.
That only affects the direction of movement. It doesn't actually affect the actual angle the bullet is going to be drawn at. Okay, we need to change that as well, which is our image angle, right? So I'm going to type image underscore angle equals direction. Since we just set our direction correctly, we can just then copy the direction. I could have written other dot image angle again, but you'll see a little bit later why I didn't do that. It'll just help us out a bit later. Okay.
Smart.
That's really all there is to it in terms of just shooting, and we've already got our bullets set up to.
Yeah, I'm enjoying finding people to watch. I'm enjoying it. I found 2 sprite guys already, and I found like the one sprite guy has a lot of general gaming and programming knowledge as well, which is kind of fun. And obviously this guy is fantastic, and I've just got a collection of stuff to watch. I'm never going to run out of things to watch.
You collide with walls and stuff like that. So I should now, hopefully I've not forgotten anything. I can run the game. I can move around. We've got a gun, aims where we want it to, and if I
Yo, it's shooting.
click, you can see we actually shoot, and you can see we've got that muzzle flash at the start, and a little white circle just appears.
Let's test. I watched One Division. Yeah, I watched all of it. It's fun. Fun show. Holy shit. I think my background is a little bit bright. I'll change that quickly. I actually, for this specific scenario, I'd like it like a... Oh shit, that's ugly. I want like a... There you go. I think he's probably going to set something at some point to make it look, you know, better or worse. But this is nice. Cool. Shit, that's cool, man. Okay, I wanted to test this one thing. I'm gonna do it quickly. It's my own curiosity. I know it won't work, right? Because it's not in the same layer. What was it that I wanted to try? I wanted to make it destroy... Ah! It works. It's just not destroying the specific instance of it. It just destroys all of it. I can't remember what the code is. Because I think I used the code to destroy a specific one in the breakthrough tutorial. So that would have been where I would have learned that.
Right on the peak of the gun. Luckily, the numbers I've used, the speed that I've used and everything, means that the muzzle, like, it's actually just worked out perfectly, and the muzzle flash is right at the edge of that barrel, which is exactly what we want.
It looks good.
But you might remember the origin of our gun. It's hard to highlight because it moves around. Is like between our two hands, and that's actually where the...
Oh, hey, I need to destroy the instance, not the object. Thanks, Thrinmore. Yeah, that's the distinction, right? That specific block, that instance of the object. Thank you. That's good.
Is when it's being created. But because we set its speed right away, it moves 25 pixels before it even gets drawn for the first time. Okay, so that means the first time we actually see it on screen, it's actually just happened to move the right amount. Now, that's not the best way to manage it. It just happened to work out very well in this scenario. You might find with your own assets.
We just yawned in sync, Dave. Fantastic. What does it mean? Oh my god. You don't want to know.
Doesn't really work out that way. But when we get to a little bit later in the video, I know this one's getting quite long, sorry about that. But when we get to adding the recoil to the gun, you'll see using length to X and length to Y how you would be able to manipulate.
Oh, Dave,
the position.
We got our report card, our first report card for Lillian today. She aced it, dude. I love it. It was great. We had our parent-teacher meeting. They gave us a stack like this of photos from the classroom, and it was fantastic. I just want to tell Dave, because he's got a daughter who might go to school at some point. She might not as well. Who knows? They might move off into the wilderness, maybe the Amazon jungle. They might start a new life there, maybe with one of the local tribes or something like that, forsaking their former life. You never know. You never know. But I'm assuming she'll probably go to school at some point. She got a report card. What can they say? What did they grade her on? A bunch of stuff, actually. Focus. Like, basically, the amount of time, or at least whether she can focus on a task and complete it before getting distracted. Then there was following orders or instructions. It's not orders, it's instructions. Then there was language and something else, and then there was one more. And dude, she aced it. It was fantastic, legit. And the special notes were her language skills are way more impressive than is normal, which is makes me happy, because we speak a lot. She's bilingual 100%, which is apparently not normal for a 2-year-old, which is awesome. I'm glad, because we've been trying very hard to do bilingual. Lillian only hears Afrikaans from her mother, and she only hears English from me. So her language skills were great, and she has a sense of humor. That's fantastic. It's fantastic. So I was happy. It was just very nice for us to hear. It was very nice. I just thought you look forward to it, Dave. Look forward to it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it.
That bullet if you needed to. Okay. Okay, so we've got our gun, we've got our bullet.
Yeah, and my father's going to start German with her, I'm hoping, soon. So maybe she'll get some German too. Proper German. Scrap the PC, Dave. Get a caravan and live on the road. Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Yes, in a way we could end this tutorial here. We've got mostly everything. But what I am going to do is add just a couple of little nice touches here or there that will just give this a little bit of polish, make it feel a little bit better, a little bit sexier, okay? First thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to kind of randomize the direction we shoot our bullets in just a little bit, just to kind of give it a bit more feeling of being kind of...
Oh, she heard me. She's calling her mother. Oh no. If she speaks Afrikaans and German, does she get Dutch for free, basically? I got Dutch for free.
a gun, you know, a big machine gun that's a bit unwieldy and hard to aim, right?
Is he about to put...
So instead of ending that line there with direction equals
recoil?
other dot image angle, I'm going to type other dot image angle plus random underscore range. Now this yellow function, what it does is it takes two values and it returns a value in between them somewhere at random, including the values you give. So I'm going to use -3 and 3.
+3, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm going to do that. I want to do that. Where were we? On gun? Oh, gun. Are you in a dungeon? Give it a second. Let's have a look. Where were we at? My greens are so much more vibrant than his greens. Wow, he probably wishes he had greens like mine. Okay. Keep talking, Sean.
This function here is going to equal a number between -3 and 3, inclusive of those numbers, okay? It could be anything from -2, it could be 1, it could be 3, it could be -1, etc., okay? And what that does is we're just going to add that value onto our image.
I'll be right back. It's me. I'm back. I'm sorry. The girl was having a breakdown. I'm here. How you guys doing? What did I miss? Turtles, apparently. Oh, did you guys hear the monitor? Aw. Yeah, she was not happy. I don't know, I think she got tangled in a fleecy blanket. Fleecy blankets are... They're tangly. They're tangly. And, well, sometimes they need some reshuffling. And then I went in there instead of mom, and that wasn't a happy time. But she's okay now. She fell asleep, but she fell asleep backwards, upside down on her bed. Her head is on the wrong side, so she might wake up disorientated. I don't know. I'm hoping she doesn't, but she's good. She's good. Puts you in your place when she doesn't want you, doesn't it? Yeah. Nah, dude, when it's panic hours, then it's mom time. It's not dad time. It's just how it is. It's life. Gotta get used to that. Sooner rather than later, I think, to just set yourself up for life. It's true. Traxa is exactly right. I am the fair weather parent. It's true. It definitely wasn't fair weather in the bedroom just now. I'll tell you that. If you guys could hear it over here. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm back now. What up, what up, what up? Hope you guys are doing well. Lily! Hello! Hello! Lily! I hope you don't get tangled in your fleecy blanket tonight. I really do. Because shit, dude, it's like her foot was properly tangled in there. Here's a video that I want to watch. Here's a video I want to watch. I'll watch that sometime as well. Wow, I love it, dude. Pixel Art 101 by Pixel Pete. There's so many... Oh, okay. Let's watch. Yo, what's up, Ash? Mabel attacks hers. No way. She has a fleecy blanket. Nice. Wait, did I put the random range part in? I did. Okay.
Jangle. Just to kind of offset the direction a little bit randomly with each bullet we fire. And now if I run the game and I shoot, you can see without moving the mouse,
oh,
our bullets have got...
Let me test that. Oh, and you made them yourself? Oh, awesome. That's sick. Okay. Yeah, so it's bullet spray. Cool. It works. Keep talking, Sean.
a bit of a random spread to them. It's...
Yo, Lightning Bolt, go well, man. Why is he shooting sex toys? That's just what it seems to be. They're just really big bullets, man.
subtle, but it is there, and it just kind of gives us a bit more of a kind of a randomized machine gun effect. The next thing, and this is kind of the big one for me, is like firing this gun feels a bit weightless at the moment. I mean, I know we added this kind of feeling when you're carrying it around. When you're carrying it and not shooting, it feels kind of nice and weighty, but it's kind of hard to believe the shooting at the moment because there's no recoil. Like, the gun just sort of hovers there and the bullets just sort of come out like magic. And it looks like these bullets don't really have much weight to them. It looks like they must be pretty light, not very damaging or anything like that, because like they don't seem to weigh anything. It might as well just be like a little BB gun or something, right? So let's give it a bit more weight. Let's make it feel a bit more, give it a bit more oomph. And we can do that just by giving the gun a bit of a kickback, okay? And we'll just make the gun...
I wonder if you could probably do the same and also let your character move back a little bit when you shoot. If you have like a really big gun.
Jump back as if it's kind of a bit hard to control for the person shooting it. So how on earth do we do any of this? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is come into our create event. I'm going to add a new variable called recoil. Okay, I'm going to set that to 0. And what recoil is going to do, we're going to set it to say 4 whenever we shoot. Okay, whenever a new bullet is made, I'm going to set it to a little number, and that's going to represent how far we want to move our gun backwards. And then every single frame, we're going to slowly decrease it. So while we're not firing, it'll just return to default position, because when recoil eventually hits 0 again,
but there must obviously be
our gun won't be moving.
A roof to it, a ceiling.
Okay, so every time we shoot goes to 4 and then slowly decreases. Well, it'll be quite quick, really.
4 is max.
Every single frame decreases by 1 and gets back to 0. Okay, so we get a kind of juddering effect while we're shooting. Gives us a bit of a kickback. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is make it so that when we fire, we set recoil to 4. So in here, I'm going to type recoil equals 4. Make sure you do this where we set our firing delay, because we're doing it in very much the same way. Don't set it in the with area, because that stuff affects the bullet. We want to affect the gun. So make sure you do that there. And just up here as well, when we do our firing delay stuff, when we reduce that by 1, I'm going to basically decrease our recoil by 1 every single frame, okay? Recoil equals max 0, recoil minus 1. Now you might be thinking, well, you didn't do the same thing there, you used this weird thing called max. What does that do?
What does it do?
Well, what max does is it returns the biggest...
Yo. You guys bought a piano? And Ash nearly bought a £150 dice set. What? Hey, Seth, what's up? Nice to see you people arriving, my duda. Greetings, greetings. Hello, hello.
List of the values that you give it. You can give it any number of values, just separated by a comma. I've given it 2.
Wait.
Now you might be thinking, well, you didn't do the same thing there. You used this weird thing called max. What does that do? Well, what max does is it returns the biggest of the values that you give it. You can give it any number of values, just separated by a comma. I've given it 2, I've given it the number 0, and I've also given it recoil minus 1, okay? So, as you can imagine, if recoil minus 1 happens to be bigger than 0, we return that, and we've done exactly the same things we've done up here, just reduced the value by 1. But say that recoil is 0, when we do recoil minus 1, that'll give us minus 1, and 0 is bigger than minus 1, therefore 0 will be returned. All it does, effectively, is make sure we don't go below 0, okay? It kind of caps us. So while recoil is 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, it'll reduce by 1, but when it hits 0, it'll just stay at 0 until we fire again and it gets set back to 4. Okay, very, very simple. So we've got the value doing exactly what we want. Now we just need to apply it to our weapon. What we're going to do, this might seem kind of impossible if you think about it at the moment, because we've got our X coordinate and we've got our Y coordinate, right? And we can manipulate those in order to move ourselves around. But how do we move just in a given direction? Well, we're going to use what's called length de x. Okay.
Oh, this is the one you said you must pay special attention to.
I'm not going to use it exactly like this, how I've typed it, but this is the function we're going to use. Let me see if I can explain now, hopefully with some diagrams and stuff, how this works.
Oh, diagrams.
Okay, so we have an X and a Y coordinate where our instance is, and we want to move in a particular direction. Now, we don't know, the problem here is that we don't know the exact X and Y that we want to end up in. If we did, we could just set our X and Y to be...
Yo, it's another game project like the Space Rocks one, but this time we're making a platform shooter. So it's a different person, as you can hear. The previous one was a lady girl. This is a boy, and he's teaching us how to make like just a straightforward. I guess it's pretty simple platformer. That's also a shooter. I thought it would be a nice one to sort of add to the repertoire. I think that if I could find a top-down sort of action RPG style game that I could make in a few-ish episodes, that would be the final tutorial that I'd want to do. He has an action RPG tutorial, but it's a very long one. I will still do it though. Oh dude, the making of Pokey Poke. This is the one I actually want to see. I'm opening that for later as well. Anyway. Wait, pixel dice? Sorry, I have to open this as well. Oh my god, you almost bought this? Oh my god, they have lights inside. Oh, Ash. Oh, Ash. Wow. This would make you the coolest nerd in the roost, dude. You would be the coolest nerd. Sound and feel. It's gonna be loud, sorry. I hate when people do this. I hate it. Why remove the... I can't set the volume. Why remove it? I hate when they embed like this, dude. Oh, that's some sound and feel right there. Oh god, did they give you a little container for each of them? Oh no, that's the weights. Okay. You choose colors. Oh my god, dude. You choose colors. Oh, dude, there's even science involved. Of course there's science involved, dude. Of course. Huge. Ash, I give you permission to waste money on this. If your wife says it's okay. Okay?
That, right? But we can't do that because we don't know what those are. We only know they
Oh my god, you can roll the dice IRL and the results pop up online? Okay. That's smart. Holy shit. No, of course you have use. When you play your online D&D game, then you can sit there like a true nerd. And you can actually roll your dice and then it'll pick up in the game that you're playing. That's actually pretty spiffy, dude. It's like the nerd equivalent of those internet controller sex toys. That's exactly what it is. He doesn't have a wife, so he's free to do whatever. So, I will call you his wife for all eternity. And I do it to honor a old man that I knew once in the previous town that we lived in. And he used to call Helene my wife. From the very first time we walked in there together, he called her my wife. And he was a fantastic individual. He was very straightforward and sometimes brutally honest about things, but it was a good thing. And he ran a fantastic business. He made the best chip and cheese rolls I've ever had, and he died like it must have been like 5 years ago already, but he was a fantastic dude. So whenever I see a couple together, they're husband and wife. That's thanks to him. That's thanks to him. He was fantastic. He was tiny. He was a tiny little Indian man, tiny little guy. Amazing accent, great voice, fantastic personality. Tiny dude. He was like a full head shorter than me. But he was such a character, dude. Everyone in town knew him. His name was AB. And he was just awesome. And I was really sad to hear that he died. I was.
Angle that we want to move at and the amount of
Okay, we have to
pixels
rewatch this because I lost it.
Okay, so we have an X and a Y coordinate where our instance is, and we want to move in a particular direction. Now, we don't...
Indian. Yes. Not Christopher Columbus has no idea where he's landed Indian. No. Indian from India.
No, the problem here is that we don't know the exact X and Y that we want to end up in. If we did, we could just set our X and Y to be that, right? But we can't do that because we don't know what those are. We only know the angle that we want to move at and the amount of pixels vaguely in that direction, okay, that we want to move. We can't just use that number of pixels in our X and Y because we might be moving a different amount in X to the amount we're moving in Y, right? We'd only be able to move at 45-degree increments that way, okay? But we want to be able to move anywhere 360 degrees in any direction at any kind of length. Now, if you know a bit of trigonometry, you can actually work this stuff out very easily without using this function. But what length do X and what length do Y do is if you imagine that position that we have and you know the angle that we want to move and we know the distance that we want to move, what length do X will do is given that direction and given that length, it will return the number of pixels you have to move in the X axis to reach that position. And similarly, length to X returns the number of pixels you need to move in the Y axis to reach that position. And once you combine those two results together, boom, you have the coordinate that you want.
Add in 3 seconds. Please be EVE Online again. I'll watch the whole thing.
Dude, video games on the core of what they are meant to be fun. And M&D...
No.
Hopefully that explanation made sense. Hopefully my diagrams kind of made it a bit clear. It's very, very, very useful to understand that. It allows you to move any instance in basically any direction by any arbitrary amount very, very, very easily if you can understand that. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to type x equals x minus length to x, open bracket, and then you can see at the bottom we need to provide the length and the direction, just as I said. Given a given angle and a given amount that we want to move, we can work out.
Hasnuts, I was just saying I'm going to flip him around and he's going to face to the right and not to the left. I don't know why he faces to the left right now, because I swear, maybe I'm wrong, but I swear I had him no, I had him facing to the left. I must make him face to the right. Yeah. Because they need to match up with other emotes and stuff. And this guy even said that that's the default, so yeah.
That X component. Okay, so the length, the distance that we want to move is recoil. Okay, it's when this value is 4 when we shoot and it decreases over time towards 0. We want to move by recoil amount. And the direction is image angle. Now you might be thinking, wait, don't we want to move to the opposite of our image angle? The image angle is
Thanks,
the direction
Seth.
the
There you
gun
go.
is
You did my
currently
work for
facing.
me.
Don't we want to move the opposite of that? And yes, we do, which is why we're subtracting this value. Okay, we're subtracting it so that we move in the opposite direction. Just a cheap way of doing that. I could have added the value and used image angle plus 180, but I think this looks a bit cleaner than doing that. And that's all there is to that. I'm just going to copy and paste that line.
Are we doing Y?
And change my X's to Y's. Simple as that. Just change the X's to Y's in that line, and then we get our Y component and we do the exact same thing. Okay, so let me run the game now. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything again.
I mean, it's self-explanatory.
And I start shooting, you can see now
Oh my god!
the gun has
That looks kind of good. Let's see. Oh my god, it's got recoil. That's actually kind of nice. That's actually kind of nice, dude. I mean, the guy's face should... I feel like when you shoot, the guy should have like a grimace on his face. Or maybe like a die, die, die. You know? It's whatever. It's whatever. For now, this'll do.
proper kickback. You can see it just jutters back with every shot and then just returns to the default position when we actually stop shooting.
What did you do with my poor boy? Is that a head?
Kind of gives that
Cute.
gun a bit of weight, a bit more oomph. He just feels a bit more real, like he's actually holding a powerful weapon, okay, there when he's shooting. One thing to point out that I kind of forgot about earlier is you can see when we shoot down, we still get our muzzle flash appearing, but we don't see any bullets. That's because we actually set that bullet to only get destroyed in the post-draw event rather than in the step event or in a collision event, okay? If we destroyed it in a collision event or in a step event, we would never see the muzzle flash and we just get the sort of juttering thing looking like we're just shaking the gun when we're shooting the floor, okay? And we wouldn't get kind of the impression
Yeah, it'd be kind of
we're
stupid.
just sort of shooting the floor a bit, okay?
Okay.
I just prefer to do it that way, and we can also see the bullets collect exactly where they get destroyed on contact with the wall, rather than if we did it a different way, they would sort of disappear instantly before they hit the wall, so they'd probably sort of be disappearing kind of around this sort of area.
Yo, Jay, welcome back, man.
Before the frame where they actually make their collision. So we've covered a lot of stuff in this part. My voice is starting to strain, so we're going to cover one more thing, just to kind of round off the stuff
Shame, guy.
to do with the gun and the bullet. I think we've done a lot of cool work. I think it looks quite polished and good.
I agree.
So hopefully it was worth this episode probably being really, really long. The last thing we're going to do is make it so that our gun faces kind of the right direction. You'll notice at the moment when we sort of turn our gun and we point it to the left, our hands are on top of the gun, which looks kind of silly to me. So I'm going to show you how you can kind of manipulate that, and you might want to change it so it fits your own personal taste. But this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to type if, just at the bottom of the gun here, image underscore angle is greater than 90. And, okay, and you remember from earlier, we're going to check another condition.
Dude, programming is so
true,
smart.
Or they're both... Oh, no. Just if they're both true, sorry. If they both come back true, then we're going to do the thing. So if image angle is greater than 90, and if image angle is less than 270. And so, I've explained to you previously how when you set up a sprite, you kind of want to make it face the right initially, okay, facing towards the right. Especially when you want to do any angle stuff with it, and that's because image angle of 0.
Yo, Ash. Go well, man. Enjoy the D&D.
Typically represents facing to the right, okay? And an image angle of 90 is facing straight up. An image angle of 180 is facing, well, 180 degrees the other way, facing left. 270 is down, and 360 or 0 again is facing to the right, okay? So because that's how GameMaker handles degrees and angles and direction, that's why it makes sense to just keep all your sprites consistent. And have
I need
them all
to
initially drawn facing to the right before you.
Like, I need to look into those.
Okay?
I need to print that
so
or
here,
something.
and I'll bring up that image again. Like, if image angle is greater than 90 and it's less than 270, that means we're facing somewhere to the left. Okay, even if it's only by 1 degree, we're facing to the left. And if that's not true, then we're facing to the right. Okay. So if we're facing to the left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type image y scale, so our vertical scaling, equals not -3, -1. Okay, and that's going to flip our gun upside down. But as you remember, because when we rotate it around its origin, it is upside down when it faces to the left. So by flipping it upside down,
It's going to be the right way around.
Right way up. Okay, and then else. So if we're not facing to the left, if we're not facing to the left, then we know that we're facing to the right, right? So if we're facing to the right, we set our image y scale to equal 1. Okay, so we set it back, which is what its default is. So if I run the game now, just off of that, you can see so at the moment we can see our gun here facing to the right, just looks as it always did. But if I go over the top, you can see it flips around.
Oh my god,
now
seamless,
it still
dude.
Looks like we've got our hands underneath it. And we're holding
Seamless.
it properly, which looks kind of cool. Looks like he's kind of just flipping it around like that.
Dude, oh my god, that actually looks really good.
You might find your own way that you kind of prefer to do it, but there's some simple logic to help you learn how to kind of manipulate how it looks when you're facing
That's fantastic.
a particular direction. Okay, that's all there is for this part. Thank you very, very much for watching. Hope you got a lot out of it. Sorry it was probably quite long, had quite a lot of new stuff going on in it, but I like to think it was...
I think in the next one, I'd love to see him add... He's probably going to add the enemies before he polishes it up with the visuals, but I can't wait to put the visuals in.
Jam-packed with quality learning material. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I'll see you guys on part 4, which will be not next Friday, but the Friday afterwards. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you once again to all of my Patreon supporters who make this work possible.
Fantastic.
Special thanks in particular to Inner Mule, Giles Montgomery, Roxom, Harold Guidry, Dan, Jason McMillan, Angel Rodriguez, and Owen Morgan. Thank you ever so much for your continued support. I'll see.
Fantastic. We're going to check quickly if our game works. Dude, that's kind of sick. That flip is so good, dude. It actually looks like it's sort of like a 3D model and he flips it around. I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah, Saf, so as you've been told in chat, it shares a lot of similarities. It's its own language, but it shares a lot of similarities with the others. It's based off of the others. As Oddfall has mentioned, JavaScript, C++, and C#. That's kind of sick. And obviously we need sound effects here. I wonder what is next. Huh. I dig it. And yeah, I decided, for anyone that maybe didn't hear, I decided to go for specifically GameMaker because it sort of suits my needs right now. And I thought it was a great place to start to learn. And it's also the kind of engine I can use to make the kind of games that I want to make right now. And it's not to say I'm not going to switch over and make other stuff later. I might, and it'll be fun. It'll be an awesome experience. It'll be fantastic. I'm excited. I am excited. So, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.